Good morning, and welcome to Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole, where we are rising in faith and thriving in purpose. In today's episode, I am joined by Nia Wilson-Hall to discuss the emotional and spiritual realities of caring for aging parents through the lens of her own experience. She's going to open up about the unique challenges that arise when the parent child role begins to shift from decision making and health management to the emotional weight that caregiving can place upon an adult child. Naya, welcome.
Hi, my love. Thank you for having me. This is fun. I'm already so
Yes,
excited.
thank
So,
you
of
so much for being here.
course.
Yes, so Naya, we go way back. This is
Right.
my little baby, y'all, but she's so grown. So,
It's crazy.
Naya and I met summer 2014 at the White House, where we were both working for the summer in the Obama administration. So that's the second administration. And, there were only a handful of us, and we were fortunate to be placed in the same office. And so we became like a little family, a lot of us. And so
Literally.
I was telling Naya, you got to come to Howard. You got to come to Howard. But before, let me slow down. Let me let Naya talk
Okay.
and tell y'all a little bit about herself.
And then it'll all make sense. Okay, so my name is Nia
Yes.
Wilson-Hall. Recently married, so I'm still getting used to the Hall part. But yes, I met Jeannie when I was I turned 21 when I was at the White House. So I was 20. But currently I'm an
You
attorney in
did.
Atlanta. Yes, that's crazy. I'm an attorney in Atlanta. I do corporate litigation defense, and I'm an only child. And now my parents are starting to get up there in age. My mom is turning 70 this year. My dad's not too far behind her. And I am starting to experience all the things that come along with aging parents. And nobody prepared me for this. So I am super excited to share my experience with you and chat through it. Because you've talked to me a lot about your family and your maternal figures in your life and the things that you've experienced with that. But still, I can give you advice or talk to you about it. But until I experience it on my own, I don't think, I really knew what that was like. Yeah.
Yeah, it is one of those things. Like you can have empathy and sympathy for people, but when you're going through it, it is completely different. So,
Yeah.
Naya, what was the moment where you realized that your parents were aging? That shift when the roles started to reverse, and how did that impact you emotionally and spiritually?
I think I first noticed it when I was no longer close to my mom. And when I say close, I don't mean like emotionally, more so just like when I was in Atlanta and she's in Virginia and I'm on the phone with her and I'm noticing things, the way she says things are differently, or, is different. Just the problems that she's starting to have and the multiple doctor's appointments that I never even paid attention to before. I never knew when my mom went to the doctor, when I was living with her. Those were just not things that we talked about. But now that I'm older and she's like, "Oh, I went to the doctor today." And then I talked to her the next week and she's like, "Oh, I went to another doctor today." I'm like, "What are we going to the doctor for?" So that was just,
And why so
an
frequent? Yeah.
and why so frequent, right? And it really wasn't anything, terribly wrong. It's just like, oh, I'm going to this doctor for this and this doctor for that, which happens as you get older. But yeah, that was probably when I first realized, okay, my mom is getting older. And then even something as small as like her telling me something and not realizing that she had already told me that story or told me that thing that she was so excited to share with me. It's like she
Yeah.
just forgot. So, moving here and us having to foster our relationship long distance on the phone, on FaceTime, definitely was when I started to realize. And how did it affect me emotionally? Obviously, it's hard because I'm so far away and I'm not able
Yeah.
to just phone her and make sure she's good. Now, just like parse through the things she's saying or talk to our other family members to make sure she's good. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's heavy. For any listeners that don't know, I was raised by my great aunt. So I was 6 years old when I moved with her, and she was 50. So definitely went through that process of seeing her age, and then ultimately, once she did pass, and so I started to see things. with time, and even her language changed as well. And what you were
Yeah.
saying about like the doctor's appointments, you never knew because back then those were probably the standard appointments. They start to
Yeah.
talk about things, I think, because they're a little concerned. Because otherwise it
Oh,
ain't your
yeah.
business, right? Because that's
Right,
how
exactly. But you asked me for a while, I'm going to the
because
doctor.
that's how all they are. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So you're like, "Hold on." Like you said, you just start putting things together. Yeah, it's always interesting. So what surprised you most, about the shift of these roles and starting to have to be more involved?
Would say probably just the reality of it all was probably the most surprising. We as children, we have this like image of our parents in our minds and that person, sorry about my work email going off. Um, but you have this
That's
image in
alright.
your mind of like they are, like there's Superwoman, there's Superman, things like that. And then as they age, they're no longer that, and the reality starts to sink in. Or, oh my gosh, I think one thing that's really surprised me has been like the FaceTime calls, and she looks a little bit older. Or when I go home and she moves a little bit slower than when I saw her before. Or, my dad is walking with a cane rather than just moving around all fast like he used to. And it may be more gradual for those who are close in proximity to their family. But for me, because I only see them,
Yeah.
holidays, special occasions, unfortunately, like deaths in the family or something like that, then it's just the time in
Or
between and
marriages.
or marriages, right? Bridal showers, all the things. It's just that time, the time, 6 months, ages someone or that's older a little bit more than 6 months, someone like us or a kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, that has been the most surprising thing. Even my husband, he said that recently, like, he saw his mom and he was like, "Oh, wait," like, because she's a lot younger than my mom. I think she's, like, almost 20 years younger than my mom, and he saw her recently and he was like, I've
Mhm.
noticed I'm a little older now." And it's not a bad thing, but it is just it's jarring because you have this image and,
Yeah.
for that. Yeah.
And they look the same for so long. And even for some parents, they
Right.
keep the same look. Their hair or haircut is still the same. They have the same style, like, and it just does not change. And then, like you said, just one day, I'm trying to remember when it was where one day I, like you said, like having moved away from Wisconsin, I went home and I was like, Marlene looks, she just looks old, but like
It makes you wanna cry,
almost
like, it
delicate.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
like, she
Yeah.
looked delicate, and there was even just a softening in her presentation. She was more willing to ask for help with things, like, I was just
Who are you?
it
And
was
bring my
just so
mama back.
many things, like, it was something her granddaughter did. Her granddaughter, she lives in Atlanta now. She was a teenager. So, oh my gosh, how old is she? So at this time, she had to be like 16 or 17. And I can't remember if I was in grad school or college, so early 20s. And they had come to stay with her for a little while. And then they were telling me some of the things my cousin was doing. Like, she was sneaking out the house, doing little stuff or
Right.
whatever. And I'm like, and she's alive? Where's she at right now?
Right,
What?
yeah.
Like,
They
totally
don't even care about
softened.
that.
And
Yeah.
I was like, lady, you had me on lockdown.
That's how my mom was. Yeah. My
Who
mom was
are you?
spicy. Yeah, exactly. Have you met my mom? I feel like
Yeah.
you have. She's always been very feisty,
Yes, at
very
your
sassy.
graduation luncheon.
Yes, very just turned up. Like she will cuss you out in a heartbeat. Now she will still cuss you out, but she'll do it a little more gracefully now. She speaks a little calmer, a little sweeter. It's like I want you to be the old Kathy, okay? Like turn up on them for real, for real. Don't be, yeah. Who is this? So yeah, that is a thing. As I get older, and also like you ever ask your parents, like you remember you were so mean to me, or do you remember that time when I got in trouble and you were so upset, and it's like they blocked it out. Like she does not remember any of that, and I don't know if that comes with age too, but that plays a role in how I deal with her
Mhm.
because I feel like without therapy, I would hold a lot of resentment towards her.
Yeah, that's real.
But I think grateful, like, I'm so grateful that I've gone to therapy and I've done the work because it just allows me to be a little more gentle with her now, even though she refuses to acknowledge a
Yes,
lot of the things
I'm
that she
proud of
did.
you.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, one thing that was different with my aunt is that, like, I didn't recount specific events, but I just remember it changed where we could have a conversation where she finally saw me like an adult, but still like an adult child, right? And that level of respect, but we could talk as women. And I remember telling her, I was like, I know what you was trying to do, but
Right.
we could have got there a different way. And, she didn't
Exactly.
argue, she didn't push back, and I understood that she did the best that she could, but the fact that she
Yep.
was able to listen and have that conversation because that was not a thing when I was younger.
No,
None
not
of
with
that
Black
that
parents either.
openness, it was not two-way conversation at all.
No, it's what I say go,
Mhm.
period. Yeah.
Exactly, which brings me to the next point, right? Like, that's a part of culture. So, what are
Mhm.
some other things about, like, your upbringing and family culture or even just, like, Black culture that influence how you approach this shift as you enter into this new season?
I'm still working on that, girl. I think for me,
Yeah,
I think therapy is still very new, in our community. Again, my mom is 70, so, like, therapy, that don't she don't talk therapy, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? And so for me, I think the one thing that really helped foster this new relationship that we have is the wedding, because I don't know if we talked, but it was a huge adjustment for her to really reconcile with the fact that she was losing her daughter, her only child.
you weren't coming back home. Mhm.
Right, like, yeah, and we probably had, like, 2 or 3 months where we were on rocky grounds because I knew I wanted my wedding a certain way. I saw that day as, a certain aesthetic. I hate that word, but, like, I just had a vision for my wedding day, but as a
Yeah,
mom, she vision for my wedding day, and I had to really set boundaries, and the phrase "setting boundaries" to this lady that was born in 1955, Southern America, was like, "What the do you mean setting boundaries? Like, you don't set boundaries with me." But that kind of narrative has weaved its way throughout our relationship now, and I think it's actually put us on a better side of things because not only did I have to set boundaries for the wedding, I
yeah,
kinda set boundaries with what I allow her to like, pile onto me, what I allow my dad to pile onto me because as aging parents, they have a lot of freaking problems, right? Like, whether it's health related, whether it's family related, whether it's, associate related, relationship related, work related, they're going to just vent and complain, honestly. And because I did the work of
yeah,
learning how to set boundaries and really just not care that she didn't like the phrase setting boundaries, I was still going to do that for me because I deserve that for me in my life. And I think once I did that, and she finally accepted that and realized that just because I'm setting boundaries doesn't mean I don't love you. Just because I'm setting boundaries doesn't mean that I love you less. It just means that I have to prioritize my well-being. And I think once I did that and she sat with that and recognized that it was coming from a good place, I think it really transformed how we interact with each other now and the things that I'm allowing her to pile on to me or my dad to pile on to me. Because I didn't say that, but I'm both of their only child and they're separate. So my dad's in Maryland, my mom's
yeah.
in Virginia. And I'm having to balance being both of their only child at a time when everything is going wrong in their lives. So, yeah, the boundary setting is really, really, really important. And I think that will be like a theme of what I talk about today, 'cause without that, I don't think I'd be able to do this.
Yes, Naya. Girl, boundaries, that is my favorite word,
They hate it.
boundaries.
I don't care.
Because it really I know, because it's an adjustment, right? Like, you're introducing something completely different, right? Like we were speaking about earlier, it's very much one way, what I say go, they there are the authority figure, that's what it is, and they've never seen anybody model boundaries. They don't know what it's like to have boundaries, and so you come in there saying no or trying to negotiate time and they're like, "No, I
Right.
need this now," or whatever the
Right.
thing is, and you're like, "I'm sorry, I can't do that," right? Because
Mhm.
a lot of if you sat down and had a talk with is your mom, is she considered silent generation or is she boomer?
I
Boomer.
always considered her as a boomer, but it
Yeah,
might be.
she's
I don't
boomer
know the
then.
year.
Okay.
55. Yeah.
No, I think it's boomer because I'm just thinking about the differences, but there are still similarities where we don't talk about things. Like it is what it is. And so no one has asked them about how they feel about things or there really wasn't room for it. Like you just got to do what needs to be done and what you still sitting there for, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you having the boundaries to say, hey, this is being able to one, talk about your feelings. It's
Mhm.
not an argument or anything, and it's just like, "This is how this is affecting me," like, we're having to reparent our parents,
Yeah.
our caregivers, and teach them a different way to communicate and to be able to engage in a way that's healthy, and so you're
For
going
every
to get pushback because it's different, it's not something they've experienced. N they've experienced boundaries in the workplace, but your mom is a business owner. So
Yeah.
it's probably been a long time since she worked for someone.
Right, and she think
And
I'm
so
one of
that
her
I think
little.
that makes a difference.
Yeah, girl, you not about to boss me, okay? You had your time, love you down, but lady, yeah,
Let's be honest, in black families, they think they always get to boss us. It does not matter how old you are. That's
it's
one of
so
those
funny. I
things
love her so
culturally.
much, but it's like, girl, you need to relax, just chill. And you know what's funny? I don't think I told you this, but she was so, like, adamant about running my wedding and running what all the stuff we were doing, whether it was the shower, the wedding, whatever. And then afterwards, she just I didn't let her run it, obviously, but afterwards, she was so pleased with the way that I planned it and pleased with how everything turned out, and I'm like, "See?" Like, I had to let her know, like, "Look, you've raised me well, I think, it was just me and you. A lot of the things
Yes.
that, you've taught me, I have not forgot about. All of the things that you've liked, over the years, for example, calla lilies, right? Like, my mom has always loved calla lilies. She had this particular, like, faux bouquet that she really wanted. It had, like, little pearls on it and stuff that she really wanted me to use, and I'm like, "I don't like that, I don't want that," and it was the biggest argument. And then when I walked down the aisle with calla lilies, she's crying like, "Oh my god, those are my favorite flowers. Just trust me, girl." Like, you know what I mean? Like, "Trust me. You don't have to worry." Like, I know it may not be what you're thinking, but I'm also thinking about how I can, make you happy too. So, it just takes work, and it takes really setting those
Yeah.
boundaries to stay sane, honestly.
For real. For real. And I love what you're saying about basically our parents need a moment to see the seeds that they planted bear fruit and your
Yeah.
wedding, shower, planning, all of those things are a version of the fruit. Like, I see you, I hear you. It was
Yeah.
validating in some sort of way when she probably just wanted to make her presence known because she's like, this
Mhm.
is my daughter, my only daughter,
Yeah.
you know?
My
So let me make this as easy as possible, as beautiful as possible. When you're like, no, Ma, I got it.
Yeah, just come.
Yeah.
Just come. You'll be happy.
Yes. So you said earlier, let me try to remember how you said it, but you basically said where everything is going wrong. What do you mean by that?
Oh, I wish I could remember, what was I
You
talking
were just talking
about?
about everything is going wrong in their lives. You were talking about your parents.
When I was in law school, my mom had a stroke, and I didn't know that she had a stroke.
I
Of
don't
course,
think
she
I
didn't.
knew that, Naya.
Girl, yeah, cause like, I didn't really know. It was my first year, and that was when I lost my aunt who was, like
Okay.
I have I had, like, 3 moms. I had my mom, my aunt who
Yeah.
was her sister. I had a great aunt that I was super tight with that you know about. But one of my aunts passed away, and I
Yeah.
didn't find out that my mom had had a stroke until I got to the funeral for my aunt, and someone's like, "Yeah, I heard your mom had a stroke." And I'm like, "Oh, my mom had a stroke?" But she's like, "I didn't wanna stress you. I didn't wanna put too much on you. I'm fine. Like, I didn't even know that I had a stroke. Like, everything is okay." And I think that was really what was the starting point of me recognizing that my mom is not Superwoman. And then, I went through law school,
Yeah.
everything was good, but then when I got to Atlanta, it started to be, like, smaller things, like, Oh, I have asthma now. Never knew you had asthma, but okay. I don't even think she knew, but it was
Hmm.
just a new diagnosis. And then it just would be like diagnosis after diagnosis. Nothing that was really too concerning, but just things that she's being
Yeah.
monitored for, back pain, doctor, saying she should have a hip replacement, but she refusing to have a like just things, right? And it's just the
Mm-hmm.
reality of, and this other thing in Black families too, is that a lot of us, I would say older generations, they really didn't go to the doctor. Like my mom has a huge fear of dentists. So like I remember as a kid, I used to be like, please, like, just go. Like when I go, we can go together. Like you have to go. They teach you in school, or when you go to
Yeah.
the dentist, you got to go twice. You should come with me. Like they're not gonna hurt you. Like that's what I say like about roller coasters, right? Like ain't nobody died on this roller coaster. Like the likelihood that my friends are gonna die is
I
low. But we
don't
gonna
know,
get on this roller
girl.
coaster, right? So like I just kind
I'm
of look at
not.
things glass full. Okay, your glass half empty, got it. But so like I
With a roller
try to
coaster?
have,
Absolutely.
let's see, ain't nobody, okay, we can talk about that when we get off. But we going to an amusement park together and we getting on a roller coaster. But, I try to have that with my mom, glass half full. With my dad, glass half full. He had a recent cancer diagnosis, and, I just everything is going to be okay. Like, you're gonna be okay. I'm gonna help you through this with boundaries, we're going to be okay. But I think that it's
Yeah.
difficult when you have parents who've never really they've been healthy their whole life and not needed to go to the doctor, not needed to see specialists and things like that. And now we're at a point where I'm having to sit on the phone with them when they go to their appointments, or I'm in their my chart messaging with their doctors. And it's a complete 180 from, when I was a kid, and they're the ones handling all that for me. So, that part is hard, but it also reminds me to really be present in my life to make sure that I'm healthy and I'm doing the things I need to do so that hopefully when I get to be their age, I don't have to deal with some of these things. Some things are inevitable and it's just in the cards, but
Yeah.
you know, it just wakes you up a little bit. It just jolts you into the right direction.
Yeah. So, how was it? You said your dad had a recent cancer diagnosis. So, how was it when you got that news?
Well, I'm a practicing attorney. So I think that, and if there's any attorneys that listen to your pod, we have year-end deadlines. So he just, I mean, I don't want to say he decides to tell me, but we find out, or he finds out like right
When he
as my
told you,
year-end
yeah,
deadline.
when he found out, yeah,
Yeah, right. So it's like I'm now having to compartmentalize. Like I need to get this deadline done. I'm traveling for depositions and things like that. But as soon as this is over, I'm going to turn my attention to my dad. I'm going to respond to him. I'm going to acknowledge what's happened. I'm going to try not to allow my mind to go off into a million different directions. I'm going to try not to chat GPT and Google what all this stuff means that he's screenshotting me and sending me, right? I'm going to try not to do that.
right.
I'm going to focus on the things that I need to focus on, because it's going to be a bigger problem if I don't handle what I need to handle right now. But once I was able to get past the work stuff, it was difficult. I mean, my dad is the type of, I was raised by my mom. So me and my dad have a great relationship, but it's never really been one where I know about his health. I know about things that are going on like that, especially with
Okay.
prostate cancer. I just feel like it's very, like, it's just not something that me and my dad would have talked about. But he's single, he's alone, like, not alone, but, he doesn't have like the support that some other people would typically have. So I am next in line. I am his
Yeah.
emergency contact. I am the one that's receiving all of the notifications. So it's been hard. And I probably need to start setting some therapy appointments for that. But, it's we're just gonna work through it. He has like another appointment coming up. So I'm gonna fly to DC, or I'm gonna be on the phone on FaceTime, making sure things are good. But I think just that whole diagnosis it's new. So it's like, I think if we can figure out what his treatment plan is, I'll feel a little bit more comfortable with this. But I think because we're still in limbo about like what's next, but the prognosis for that type of cancer is typically pretty good. So I'm just hopeful, like I said, glass half
Okay.
full. I'm hopeful that things will, settle out, not settle out, but, just mellow out and he'll be okay. Glass half full. He'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah, and I get it. My mom is currently undergoing cancer treatment. So she was initially diagnosed with lung cancer back in March, stage 4, and
Wha
she did her chemo and everything, and we were like, "Okay, things are in the clear." And we were about to like plan a trip cuz she's wanting to go to New York cuz we were going to go last year, but I got COVID.
Uh-huh.
So random. I had never had COVID and I got
What?
COVID last November for the very first time. Wild, I
Wait, when
know.
were y'all trying to go?
So we rescheduled. We were gonna go in November. Last November, we were gonna go, but I got sick
Okay.
and then I canceled it. Well, we got had to cancel her flight and everything to come here, and then it got cold. So it was like we'll wait till it warms up a little bit, and
Mhm.
then in the spring, she tells us that there's a mass in her lungs.
I'm
And
sorry,
so
sister.
we're like, okay, right? Trying, going through that. So like I
Mhm.
resonate with like, what do we do? Because she's in a different state. There's three of us, none of us live in the same state as her, right? And trying to figure out how to get care. And she's not the most savvy with technology either. So that
Same.
makes it hard. But then it's we thought she was like, in the clear, but then they found a mass in her brain.
What?
So, yeah, so then she started radiation and
Where
then
does
they
she
found a
live?
spot on her neck. She's in Mississippi, child. God bless her.
I did
Y'all
not
pray,
think I knew that she was
please.
in Mississippi. Because when you said different states, I thought she was in Wisconsin. I didn't know she was in Mississippi.
No. She's in Mississippi. Because that's where my family, like, Southern roots, thanks to
Uh-huh.
enslavement. So
Right.
my family with the Great Migration, they're in Mississippi and basically in Racine on the maternal side. So Mississippi and Wisconsin on the maternal side. But yeah, all of this stuff is really difficult to try to coordinate stuff. So like I really get it. I'm glad that your dad's isn't so progressive or aggressive. Because I had an
Yes.
uncle who went through prostate cancer. Was able to have surgery. He's still with us. He's doing his thing, like nothing
That's what I'm
happened.
seeing.
But
I'm
I'm
just
seeing
hoping.
him age too.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I blame our food,
Yeah,
but we could have a different pod for that.
seriously, girl. Yeah, we're not gonna talk about food and what happened when I was just in Atlanta with you.
Oh,
we'll
no,
we'll
I
save
no, the
that for
food here
another
is
episode. Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Okay, but yeah, I think you're right though, like about food, a lot of things that people consume, the smoking. Like let's
Yeah,
be clear, all of these new things, these products and stuff that come out, we are literally experiments. And we find
lit
out later that these things are filled with carcinogens. Okay. So, so you talked about therapy and how that helps with like resentment. So, if like you've experienced that at all, like any moments of guilt or resentment and feeling overwhelmed, like how do you handle those moments?
I think it's just hard. It's hard. Again, I think there are probably gonna be so many people who listen that are not an only child, and they maybe have siblings that are, involved too. I come from a very unfortunate perspective of I can't call my sister or brother and be like, "Call your mama today," check on your mom. So, I feel a lot of resentment and guilt when I do sometimes set those boundaries, and that means that I don't call my dad this week, or I don't answer the phone when my mom calls me. Not necessarily because there's beef or I have a problem. It's just because there's other things going on at this present moment that's taking my attention, whether that means I've had a really tiring week or a rough, exhausting week. I've had weeks where I've had like 8 depots in a week. 8 depositions in 1 week is unheard of.
Oh
It's
my
crazy, but there
goodness.
are some weeks like that where I have that, and I just can't be on the phone with my mom venting about the neighbor who found a snake in her yard. It's like, I don't care, I just don't,
Yeah.
and so, it's stuff like that sometimes where I do feel bad because it's like, dang, like, there could be that one time I don't answer the phone, and then I can't talk to my mom again because something has happened. And I go that
Oh,
far sometimes,
don't
which
do
I
that.
drove myself in,
Ooh,
and my therapist was like, "Stop." Don't do that. Don't think that way. Just when you have that time, call them. And so, for example, last night, I was actually thinking about today, and I was like, you know what? I really do need to talk to my parents. And I had planned to call both of them back to back, but the call with my mom was like 45 minutes. And I just sat on the phone, had one headphone in, was listening to TV, like low key multitasking, just letting her just vent about her day. That was the best part of her day, was just
Yeah.
telling me about her day. I didn't care about half of what she was talking about,
Yeah.
right? Like, but like at least she was able to just vent about her day and feel like someone was listening and cares, and her daughter who she loves so much, you know, that was the perfect ending of her day. I didn't have the capacity to call my
Yeah.
dad last night, so I'm gonna call him today, but either way, I made time for them. And when I do that, it does help remove some of the resentment and guilt that I do feel sometimes when I set those boundaries. For example, with my mom, she likes to call me every morning when usually around the time I'm about to go to work or I'm going to work. And with the type of job I have and the type of people I work with, I just need to get my mind right, right? Like for the day.
Right.
And she may not answer, but I'll just text her and be like, I'm on the way to work. And she's like, oh, I know. Like, and she knows that now because she has my location on Life 360. That is the best thing that I could have
Mhm.
done for us, is for her to just see, like, oh, I'm at my desk, or oh, I'm at work. That's why she's not answering the phone. Not necessarily, I don't want to talk. You know what I mean? And so because we have that connection now, she can see me moving around. She can see when I'm at home. It just makes her feel more connected, and it allows her that just peace of knowing that I'm okay, and then she'll stop blowing my phone up. My dad boundaries, I don't really need to set those with him that much, but he'll say things like, "About time my daughter called me," or "I wish you would call me more." And it's like, "Okay, you can call me too," you know? So, like, we'll just play around,
Right.
and I'll call him sometimes or he'll call me sometimes. And I think just making that effort of just touching base is really all they want, when there is distance. But sometimes it's hard for us because, we have our own lives that we're building and that we're fostering. And sometimes we
Yeah.
just don't have it, but we can make a second, you know, to just call and check in. And you can always be like, well, I've got to go make dinner now, but I'll call you tomorrow or I'll call you this week. And that's all they want. They just want to make sure you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those touch points are so important, and it sounds like the Life 360, the way of allowing you to have, like, passive presence where she can
Yeah.
see it. Because there are some of those parents who, like you said, they will blow your phone up.
Mhm. Phone up.
But they're used to having that access, and
Hmm.
that changes when you become an adult. Even when you're in school, right? You still have time because 'cause you're not working. So school is demanding, but you have the times you're in class, and
Yeah.
unless you're in an exam that's, like, outside of class time, like, you generally would answer, where now it's like, "No, people are paying me for my time and my presence. I'm not available to do that."
Exactly.
So
I have
that
to bill.
shift.
Yes, like, my
Yes.
billable hours, like, I have to bill every 6-minute increment that I work, and I need to work a lot of hours a year, you know what I mean? So,
Girl,
just
I
that
hate
alone
billable units.
is stupid. It ain't going nowhere, but it's stupid. In fact, AI is making it
Mhm.
more demanding and more strict, you know? So, oh, well, it's part of the game.
Yeah, it is, and you get used to doing it, I understood, but I was just so glad when I got out of a job where I did not have to do billable units like that anymore, like that. Ugh.
Yeah,
Ugh.
hate it.
And then with your dad, I love that he actually said, "Call me more," because that's a
I
level
don't.
of vulnerability.
Oh, okay, so yes,
Okay.
I would agree. I don't, because it's like, "Will you call me?" But no, that is
Well,
one
I
thing that
think it goes both ways.
oh, for sure. But you know me, Jeannie, and my mom used to call me Nia Wept when I was younger because I'd be crying, and it really isn't because, like, I mean, I am
Why?
a
Hold
crybaby.
on, hold on,
Yeah.
hold on. Your mom, Miss Kathy, why she have to do
So
you
so
like
I have
that?
to tell
Come
you
on,
the
Naya
story.
wept.
So one summer, I was at, like, summer camp when I was a kid. I was in, like, elementary school, but young, like, 1st, 2nd grade age.
Yeah.
And, I cried the whole summer. I don't know why I cried the whole summer, but I'm a Cancer, so that's probably why, but either way, I cried the whole summer. So my mom was like, "When they ask you when you get back to school, what you did all summer. You should probably just tell them Nia wept." And so for a long time, my family used to joke with me and call me Nia wept, but it was a cute joke. It was okay, not too much on my mom because it was
It's
cute at the
cute,
time.
but dang, it was smart. I like a smart, shady joke. But I'm
I
like,
told you
was
my
that
mom
a little
was
harsh on elementary school Naya?
but my mom is super feisty, no emotion. I never really saw much emotion from her growing up, but
You did say that.
my dad is
Yeah.
so emotional, so in tune with his feelings, not afraid to show me his emotions, not afraid I mean, there's
Okay.
been times we've cried on the phone together, like and I so appreciate that from my dad because you just don't see men that way. And I love like you said, I do love that he's vulnerable in that sense because it's my freaking dad. If
Yeah.
my dad wants to cry, cry. Like, like I just don't feel like that's anything wrong with him. In fact, I think it really humanizes him and it makes me love him more because he has that soft side about him. But I think it's where I get it from. It's totally nature. I think the nature side of me because I didn't spend that much time with him, but still I have
Yeah.
that that just I'm in tune with my emotions. I love being emotional, and I think that everyone should tap into their emotions, and I appreciate that about him. So, I guess if that was him being vulnerable, cool, but I really think it was just him being like, "I want my daughter to call me, so call."
Okay, that's fair too. But yeah, he could just pick up the phone. If you think about me, just call me, Dad, and I'll do the same, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
'Cause those are some sweet moments that you all can have. So you talked a little bit about therapy and giving yourself what I heard was grace with, communicating with them. How are some other ways that you're able to create space and take care of yourself without feeling like you're letting the people down?
Really think that's it. I mean, because I'm not in Virginia and I'm not close to them, I just have no choice but to create that. I mean, the space is there.
Okay.
So that yeah, it's there. I think just setting those healthy boundaries is just the best thing that I could have done. For example, when he shared with me his diagnosis, we talked about it, but we weren't on the phone that long because it's like, well, we
Mhm.
about to start, like I know us, we about to start crying. So let's just take a night, tonight, I let him know. And also, I think to answer your question, also just being honest about what my work week was like, right? Like I let him know, look, I am
Yes.
traveling the next few days. It was like a Tuesday or Wednesday when he told me, I'm like, I will reach back out to you over the weekend. Certainly, if you need anything at all, please call me. I'll be checking in, but, like, I can't do, the phone like, the long phone calls or us trying to figure out what's next and piece together all this information right now. So, just being straight up with them, I think, has been beneficial because at least they know why. I'm not just ignoring them or I'm
Right.
not just speaking to them at this time because I don't want to. Sometimes I just don't want to, but at least I let them know, like, "Look, I just need a second, I'll reach back out or let me know if you need anything, but just give me a day or 2 to kind of process what you're telling me. It's the best I can do."
Yeah, that's so good. So I'm hearing like honest and authentic communication and
Yeah, for
knowing
sure.
your limits and like what your capacity is that day because sometimes it can be damaging if you push past that certain threshold that you have. So that's
Yeah.
really good. And that like you're modeling this for them without saying it, but you're kind of like, okay, Dad, we gotta go. Like this
Yeah,
is too
yeah.
much.
When both of us was getting, like, the frog in our throat, I was like, "Alright, dad, Imma holler at you. I love you so much. I love you so much. I'm gonna call" like, cause he could hear it in my voice, I could hear it in his voice. This isn't gonna be it's only gonna hurt us both for both of us to be sad on this phone right now when obviously we're both very sad, emotions are very high. Let's just take a second to come back to this conversation when we both had a second to kind of process what we were facing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Understood. So, Naya, did you want to talk about any of the elements of your step parents?
And I think I'm grateful for my stepdad because he's a friend for her, like he's there with her. I love my stepdad, that's my dog. So we've always had a good relationship. And I really don't I don't think
Remind
I'm
me of
ever really
stepdad's name again.
Kevin. I used to call him Jack
Okay,
because of
that
his
is
last.
right.
Yeah, so
Maybe that's why I didn't realize his name was Kevin.
yeah,
Because
he's just
maybe you
on
were
or yeah, like
used to refer to him
yeah,
as
that's
that. Yeah.
but yeah, I love that she has companionship. Oh my god, I don't know what I would do if she didn't have companionship. So yeah, that's good that she has that. But my dad, his wife is in Jamaica, so he has companionship, but I think right now it's just again, this is just when my parents go through things, even my mom though, even though she has companionship, they I'm next in line sometimes. So like with my dad having his cancer diagnosis and then his wife being in Jamaica, we're trying to figure out if she's okay, like after the hurricane and all of this was at the same time. I haven't given you an update. Like I still don't know if
Yeah,
she's
I was
okay.
gonna ask if you all were able to touch base with her.
I need to actually ask him when I call him today. I'm going to ask, but I did look at WhatsApp and it showed like the two little blue check marks. So it looks like she's actually like been able to at least turn
Okay.
on her phone and seen the messages. She didn't respond, but hey, as long as she's
Okay.
good, I just want to make sure she's good. But yeah, because she's so far away, I'm next in line still. So
Yeah, that's
cards have
intense.
been dealt
So the hurricanes and the diagnosis hit back to back.
back to back. I actually
Oh
think
my
the
goodness.
hurricane was
I
like
can't
hit on a Monday, and then my dad told me that maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, or it wasn't a full week apart,
same week.
same week. Mm.
That right there, this is the type of stuff that can bring people to their knees.
Girl,
And if you're not in therapy, if you don't have some type of spiritual grounding faith like God, like these things can derail your life.
but that's why I think emotions are
So,
important because you just cry. Once I cry, I'm good. It's like a release.
learned go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, and now we're back at it, and I've cried, I've gotten it out, and now I can push forward.
Yeah, but there's also an opioid that's released when we cry. Now, don't give me the line about the name of it. But I
Mhm.
looked it up at some point. But when we cry, there's literally an opioid. So there is pain relief. That's how like dope God designed us. You cry, your body produces a natural pain reliever to make you feel better. But
It
also you're
works.
literally crying out like cortisol, which is a stress hormone. So there's so much of a
Mhm.
release for sure.
That nap after a good cry? What? You can't tell me nothing.
Cause
I
yeah,
might
it's
go
like
cry.
you have to reset.
Exactly.
Yes. So, talk to me about the role of faith for you in this season and the impact it's had on how you've been, dealing with this transition.
I think for me, my faith is that, like, God has never, ever, 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 ever left me, right? Or any of us. And I think
Yes.
once I put that back into perspective, it just kind of just regrounds me because we go
Mhm.
through so much. Everybody goes through so much stuff that's silent, stuff we don't, talk about, stuff that other people may know, stuff that, and we've always made it to the other. I've always made it to the other side. Period. I've dealt with grief and loss and betrayal and all of the things, but at the end of the day, I've made it to the other side. So much so that like I don't even
Yes.
remember half of the stuff that I've gone through. And in the
Yeah.
moment though, it's debilitating. Like you said, it brings you to your knees, But at the end of the day, when I reflect back, I always just feel so grateful that I have made it. And I know that just shows me God is real, right? Like 'cause the stuff that we go through, the stuff that we're faced with is intended to break us. It's intended to make us not wanna keep pushing. But yet and still, each time, we're back and we're better, even though that sounds so cliche, but I'm back and I'm better and I've made it to the other side with no issue. So, I think that just reorients my brain, like, when my aunt passed, when your aunt passed, that was probably
Yep.
the hardest loss that we've ever dealt with. I remember how
Yep.
terrible it felt, but I don't, right? Like, I remember how bad it felt, but I don't remember that pain really that I was feeling because I've been, I feel like God has just healed my heart, Is it sad? Do I still, cry
Yeah.
sometimes when I think of her? Yes. But that deep, deep, deep loss and pain, I don't feel and that's I can't say that that's
Yeah.
anything but so I think that is what kinda just keeps me going. I know that I'll always be okay. I know that my mom will be alright. I know that my dad will be alright. I know that our family will be alright because we've always been alright. I always say this though, and
Yeah.
it's very, like, kinda borderline cliche, but I remember when I was at Howard and one of our trial coaches, we would, like, complain, right? Like, "Oh, this is so much work," or, "Oh, this is just too much," or, and she would be like, "Do you know that our ancestors were slaves? Do you think they complain the way that you complain? Do you think that this would be hard for them?" You know, like, d and if that's the case, cool, but I just want you to know that you tripping right now. Like, that's literally how she would talk to us, and I know that she didn't mean for it to come across in any negative way, and it didn't for me, but it also just showed me that, like, whatever I'm going through, it could be, and it has been a million times worse for my ancestors, and Imma be alright.
Yeah, and you didn't just go to any old random law school. You went to Howard Law, the home of Thurgood Marshall.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we know why he went to Howard. He originally, applied to University of Maryland. They would not
Mhm.
have him. So, like, literally, even though yes, it is hard, but sometimes we need that perspective. We're so caught up
Yeah.
in that we don't even realize sometimes that we're living in the like this. When it snows, someone's walked, and you can step
Yeah.
in
Yep.
those footprints, and you don't have to get snow all over everything, or it just makes it a little bit easier, or that path you can see the shortcut. All the people have walked in, it's made it easier for you. We can easily forget that. So it's hard for us now. Imagine what it was like for them, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that it's not hard, but it's one of those things to remind you of gratitude, because that's
Gratitude.
complaining. It feels good, but it can also contribute to more feelings of negativity, more anxiety, feeling more depressed, and then everything is a problem. You know what I mean? After a
Right.
while, and
Right.
when we forget to look at what is, yeah. So I'm glad you had someone you could commiserate with a bit, but then also someone to remind you just like where you are, who you
Yeah.
are, and how this is possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what you were talking about, just like the highs and lows, that was literally going with today's sermon at church with almost anybody you can think of in the Bible, right? Like those big stories, there were lows. And some of them, their
Yeah.
lives did like this, especially David.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
David, man, he knew he was supposed to be king and he was still out there shepherding. He
Exactly.
knew he was anointed to be king and he's having to run for his life from Saul, be on the run. It's like God just really does things, and how he takes people from these highs and lows, and like you said, these things are meant to bring us to our knees because that's where we meet God. And I think
Yes. For
God
sure.
allows these things to happen because he never wants us to live a life that does not require him. And so
Mhm.
when we get too far and we act like we don't have time for God, you just wait. That thing is
Okay.
around the corner. So it's best to just
Okay.
stay locked in because you're going to have a low anyway. And so
You're
if
going
you're
to
already locked in, it's a lot easier to get through. And I know that's been
ex
significant for me with my mom going through cancer, in her
Mhm.
treatment, because radiation has been taxing on her, and not having a traditional relationship in itself. I think that complicates it a little bit more
Yeah.
too. But just because as soon as I got word about that diagnosis, I was like, nope. I said, God, I don't want
Mhm.
this because all that loss and grief. So you highlighted my aunt, but my loss and grief started in 2014 with my niece. You remember, I, w- girl, you was right there with me at the White House when I was sitting at my desk
Yeah.
looking like I was dissociating, disconnected from only there in body and just tapping and typing away and not talking to
Mhm.
people, just there.
Mhm.
Right. So like it
You remember
started
that.
there, and then every year something else happened. Somebody got sick, somebody got cancer, somebody
Right.
died, like then funerals, and like it went on from 14 until 19 with um my aunt Merlene. And if I were to count it, but it didn't directly impacted me as much as the household. The man I used to be married to, his mother then died in 2020, right before like the world shut down. Like got back
Right.
in the country, like few days later, everything shut down. Right. So just like, yeah, yeah, it was. So like there was just like so much there. So I went through this extended season of it. And I guess I needed all of those. Those were the warm up because it made her, I was able to come out of it, right? Because the other ones, it just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. And after hers, I started to come out of it in 2020. But this all started in 2014. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And then you lived in my building. Yeah. Yeah. You were back. And then I was like, yeah, girl, move over here. Yes. How is Callie? Please, please. Yeah. Yes, yes. So, girl, because Riley is what, 8 now? Yeah. Riley, yeah. But see, you didn't really get to meet Rocco. No, nothing compared to Rocco. Okay. Oh, because Callie went home right before he came. Okay. 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 And you had to study for the bar and focus. Yeah. Okay. Girl, all the memories are coming back. Because Callie, oh my gosh, the way she used to be looking at Riley like, go sit down somewhere. The dogs are hilarious. But yeah, why are you all up on me, sir? Yes. She was like the it girl, like a senior and a freshman, like ill. But yes, girl, Callie, that was my boo though. After that, that's why we had to get another dog. So you're like, Riley misses Callie. We could tell after like Callie stayed with us for those like 2 weeks or however long it was. I was like, yeah, he's lonely now. But oh my goodness. But yeah, God, we need him. And any world where that we don't, he's not having it. God is the jealous God. But I also think that he's not that hard to please. We just have to deny ourselves and know that he'll reward us. But that's a struggle because sin feels so good. Let's be honest. Until it's till it's done. Then when you owe afterwards. Now you done paid for the seconds of pleasure of enjoyment. Is it really worth it? Yeah, for real. It's not. Cause I just be like, nah, I know how that go. We not young and dumb no more. Oh. You still look young, you just don't have that baby face anymore. Okay, of course, of course. Are there any particular scriptures or prayers that have helped you to, get through this season that really keep you going? Or if you're feeling low, they'll pick you back up. They just sustain you. Mm. Mhm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You know I just had to look it up. Yeah. Yep, you got it. Ask, seek, knock. That's it. Mm. Mhm. It is, and I'm looking at that scripture, the way you said, "Ask, seek, knock." This is what I mean when I say, or if anyone has ever heard me say, like, it's not complex with God, it's so simple. Those are always the answers. Ask, seek, and knock. When you don't know, ask, go look for it. Seek the scriptures, seek God, talk to Him, or just knock on the door. Man. And when you really get in your word, you can start to see this. Because I'm so proud of me. Thank you so much, God. I am getting through the Bible. Thank you. But this specifically, I know you are, but I was going to say this is specifically for getting through the Bible in a year. So I started it last November. At the end of it ends, I will have finished the Bible. Now I'm a audio girly, so I listen. But like, oh yeah, and I'm more of a audio learner. Like, and I hear it, it soaks in a different way. But reading it is good too. But when if I hear it, it's on. But there's so many scriptures and things that are in here that I'm like, the answers really are in here. And like today, I was in Hebrews, Hebrews 11:1, right? Now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. People start there. But that chapter, girl, it run down all the receipts. Like if you ever have doubts about like God and what he does and who he is, his track record. I was listening this morning. I said, not you running everything down from the Old Testament to present about how God really shows up, like naming names, Esther, David. Like they were saying other names and stuff like that that I didn't even Abel. They started talking about Abel at first. They were talking about the faith of Enoch. Then they went on to talk about the faith of Noah, Abraham, um, Sarah. Like Hebrews chapter 11. They run everybody down. And I was like, this is so good. Like, if you ever have doubts about God, just go read Hebrews 11. Like, that verse, that's just to like whet your appetite. Like, the receipts follow. But like I think that's it's so important and the scripture is so simple. And because God says like he who has ears let him hear, he who has eyes let them see. We have to want it and we have to ask God, God, give me wisdom, give me discernment. We really have not because we ask not. Like and like because we don't seek because we don't knock. We don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's exactly what you said. And it's so beautiful when you can rest in that simplicity, knowing who your father is and what he will do for you, through you. And it's really and truly amazing. And this is why we have to know our word. Man, Girl, I just be getting overwhelmed now. Cause I'm like, and I be having to apologize to God, like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. This is why they say people perish for a lack of knowledge. Okay, let me girl. It's so good. It's so simple. It really is. So, how do you reconcile your faith in God's goodness with the pain, the unknown, the uncertainty that comes with, having aging parents and all these things just unfolding and happening, as they would say, out of the blue? Okay. Yeah. Yep. Mm, girl. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-mm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And see, this is what I love when things happening in my life align with the sermons. Like, I'm like, God does this thing where it runs parallel what I'm learning, and then the application is like right before or right after and connecting the dots. So, one of the scriptures today was from Ecclesiastes 3. That's there's a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die. Time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep, a time to throw away. And it continues to go on and on. There's like 14 different things in there, right? So to me, this covers almost everything, right? A time to tear, a time to mend, a time to be silent, a time to speak, a time to love, a time to hate, a time for war, a time for peace. So with all the chaos that's ever going on. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, that's 1 through 8. The Bible tells us there's a time for it. So what you know is on the other side of that, like all those ups and downs we're talking about. On the other side of that is going to be the goodness. We just have to hold on to God. We have to endure, but like things, it's just inevitable. It is the course of life. That doesn't mean that you can't feel some type of way, that you shouldn't acknowledge it, and that you should just like disregard. We're not built like that. We're built with all these emotions. Allow yourself to feel them. Like you were saying, you got big emotions and allowing yourself to feel them. That's going to be critical to get through this. So I love that we have context for it, but like if we're not tapped in, we don't know. We don't know. Or you've heard it, but you haven't figured out the application. Or that's the last thing you're thinking about sometimes. So, what advice would you give to others who are struggling to hold on to their faith while supporting aging parents? Yeah. Mhm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yes. Mhm. Yeah. We got to call dad. Yes. Maya, I'm just so proud of you. I can hear so much of your growth because when I met you, you were 20 years old. Yeah. So hearing your growth, seeing it in you, and you just like embodying being like a whole adult woman, it just warms my heart. It really and truly does. It really does. Shadow room. I, I don't remember. It's like the one that was like literally right across the street. Oh, wait, no, we had to go. No, 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 no. Girl, we have to figure. No, because there was I was gonna say, was it like Eden? Because that wasn't that far. Girl, it might be gone, but I was out the streets for a while, so you looking on the map. Yeah. No, it's the growth process, it's the maturation process, and I just love. Oh, yes, you right. Stans is OG downstairs. Girl, I could use some fish from Stans right now, for real. Oh, that isn't that far. Yeah, because that's like down the girl. Ah, Naya. Yes. Girl, I forgot about that. But also, like, I was grieving then too. And that's something about grief is that it sometimes you don't remember a lot of things. And that's something that I've recognized coming out of it. And people are like, your memory is da 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 da. And then it's some stuff I'd be like, you gotta run it back for me and help jog my memory. But that's definitely one of those things. But yes, Naya, that is it. Downstairs OG. I don't know why I didn't think of stairs to begin with. But girl. Girl, well, I was there last summer, but that was like a move. We were hanging out all day. We did brunch at the wharf, did karaoke at the wharf, and then at that point, people were hungry again. So somebody was like, "Let's just go to Stands." And so we went to Stands. It was about 10 of us. We was in there grubbing. Okay, whenever y'all ready. Whenever y'all are ready. Okay. You ain't leaving Atlanta? Love that you've settled in. Love that. I meant to tell you that when I saw you last weekend. Like Atlanta is really like home for you. I could I could tell. And that you're settled in the best way. Okay. If you could leave the audience with one powerful truth to help them to rise and thrive, what would it be? All right, y'all heard it. All is well. And now this is the portion of the show where we shift to you, audience. I want you to reflect. What emotions or fears come up when you think about your own aging parents or caregivers? And then I want you to take an action. This week, give yourself permission to rest, even if that means saying no to something. It could even be also, if you need it, give yourself permission to just cry or feel your emotions. And then finally, I want to affirm you or leave you with an affirmation. I honor my parents or caregivers, but I also honor the vessel God made me to be. Well, Naya, thank you again for joining me on Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole. It was such an absolute pleasure to have you here. If folks want to get in touch with you, where can they find you? How can they reach you? It's a wife. Okay, okay. Well, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Rise and Thrive with Dr. J. Nicole. Make sure you check out the merch. Go to www.evolvewithdrjnicole.com and take a look at it. We got the crew necks here, perfect for it's sweater weather now, right? Like, so it's perfect for this season. And actually, I think I'm gonna drop some skull caps, right? Because we're going into winter, so we want to make sure that we have goodness for you for all season long. Of course, you can always get your mug, but there's t-shirts, hoodies, pins, a spiral journal, just whatever you need, hats, all of it. So we'll see you next week. Keep rising in faith and keep thriving in purpose.